Hello and welcome back to the 8th lesson of the Year 2 Theory and Methods section of this online series. Last time we looked at the basic principles of Marx's structural theory. And we said that Marxism begins and ends with the same thing, not the letter M, but instead the economy. To illustrate this, we can observe this following exchange. What did you tell that man just now? I told him to work faster. How much do you pay him? £15 a day. Where do you get the money to pay him? I sell products. Who makes the products? He does. How many products does he make in one day? £50 worth. Then instead of you paying him, he pays you £35 a day to tell him to work faster. Huh? Well, I own the machines. How do you get the machines? I sold products and bought them. And who made those products? Shut up, he might hear you. In other words, this is what Marxism is saying is really happening. Those at the bottom don't realise the extent to which they're in the position they're in. Using the answers to your toothpaste activity, we can see that there is a disparity, similar to one outlined in the cartoon, between those who own the means of production and those who don't. And this leads to consequences and ultimately exploitation. This provides a simplified example of surplus value using the example of Apple. The profits go to the owners of the means of production, while the actual workers who make the products get very little. Again, in simplified terms, the profit is the equivalent of Marx's use of the term surplus value. In this example of an iPad from 2010, 47% of the cost of an iPad is profit, with just 2% of that going to the workers in China who made the product. These figures aren't actually based on the last year, but they're the closest measure I could find. If all profit was to be shared out exactly equally amongst every single employee, then this is how much everyone would earn, from the cleaner to the CEO. Eye-watering. Press pause as you add this as your title for this section, either written on paper or typed on a computer. A-level Sociology Theory and Methods for Paper 1 and Paper 3, Marxism Continued. Marx's theory is deceptively simple. You should make a note of these key ideas in your preferred style. As we've said previously, Marxism is a structuralist theory like functionalism, but it's different from functionalism, where the functionalist sees consensus, the Marxist sees conflict. The second point about Marx's theory is not one that is up for debate. We're not arguing about the existence of a capitalist economy. It's the economic system that we have in the Western world. It's just whether it's desirable or not. For example, neoliberalists, who we looked at before, see it as the most efficient system, whereas a proclaimed Marxist would be very much opposed to it. The third point is Marx's observation about capitalism. That is the idea that Marxism is based on a division between two social groups: the bourgeoisie, who own the means of production, and the proletariat, who don't. The fourth point to note is that capitalism is also based on the continuous pursuit of profit. A successful company is judged according to its ability to continue to make profits. And then the fifth point, the final point in this Marxism summary, is that for Marx, in this economic system of capitalism, the relationship between the two social classes is one of exploitation. Please press pause and make a note of this diagram. It's one that I'll be referring back to a number of times. Its purpose is to illustrate the Marxist idea that the economy of a society has an influence on the individuals. For example, the current economic base, our current model if you like, is capitalism. This shapes the superstructure in Marxist terms, hence the social institutions that we have are in the format that they are because of the capitalist economic system. Their purpose, according to Marxist analysis, is to maintain, that is, keep it as it is, and legitimate, that is, making it seem normal and natural. That's why, when we looked at education, Bowles and Gintis, from a Marxist perspective, said that education legitimates and reproduces inequality. Or to put it another way, you could say something such as this. Again, you should press pause while you write this point down. in a way that makes sense to you. Please do the reading for Marxism that I've added to Google Sites. The link is included in the lesson on Classroom. I have, or will do in the very near future, include a list of questions that relate directly to this reading. You will see that the reading is organised under the following headings, as seen here, here, and here. Ideology is another term that is used in general terms, and then specifically by Marxists, with reference to what they see as being passed as normal being anything but. It's just the ideas of the ruling class that are passed as normal. Press pause as you make a note of this important term. Marx believed that every worker in a capitalist society would suffer from some form of alienation. Some people may be more alienated than others, but ultimately every worker in a capitalist society is alienated. But the point remains, alienation, according to Marx, is inevitable in a capitalist society. You should press pause and add a definition of this important Marxist term to your notes. Given Marx says that any worker in a capitalist society will suffer from alienation, try to think of examples to add to your own notes of the jobs that you think will cause the highest degree of alienation. For a starter, I'll give you putting the caps on tubes of toothpaste. Sometimes people accuse Karl Marx of being overly negative. He died in relative poverty, knowing little of the impact his work would go on to have, but he was actually quite optimistic about the future. Marx believed that society developed over periods of time to where we are now and a capitalist economic system. But eventually the workers would realise their exploitation, and for Marx, a capitalist society would become a socialist one, and then finally a communist one, with communal ownership and no alienation. It is often referred to as Marx's communist utopia, and this was the end goal. With regards to evaluation of Marxism, please consider this question. Are his ideas still relevant to analysis of today's society? As we've done with the other theories, we must consider some direct criticisms of Marxist views. The first is that Marx places too much emphasis on social class differences at the expense of other social group differences. You'll probably need to press pause as you make a note of this criticism in your own words. A second direct criticism comes under the heading of economic determinism. Again, you should press pause as you make a note of this. As was the case with functionalism, a number of the direct criticisms of Marxism are made by other sociological perspectives. Therefore, we could use functionalism, for example, to criticise Marxism, and the other theories as we cover those. Next time we'll look at a variation of Marxism known as neo-Marxism.